works a little bit differently than the sound on regular NES, on US NES.
All right, let me know when these guys start on your screen, Feasel.
Okay. And both went right now.
Alrighty, hello and welcome everybody to twitch.tv/speedgaming. What we have for you today is this is the first of two races in the 100% All Keys Zelda 2 tournament. Racing today on your left we have BadBrakes and on your right we have Scorpion Max. I am the Green Leaf Effect. With me tonight is Mythical 9 and Feasel.
Oh.
Hello.
Now
this
what?
Be a good one.
This is going to be a really good one. We have the 6 seed versus the 11 seed. And for those who may or may not know what Zelda 2 or this specific category is, 100% all keys means that every dungeon item, every magic spell, every magic container, every heart container, and every attack command, which is the upstab and downstab, must be obtained within this run. In addition to that, because this is an all keys category, every door that you go by, you have to have a key to get by. You don't necessarily need to unlock the door, but you need a key for it.
And we saw that these players are already off to a good start. Both of them got the 50 bag in that cave there. So what that is a frame perfect trick. Well, it's these players aim for a spot in the counter where they're more likely than average to get a 50 bag to drop. Normally there is a 1 in 8 chance that you're going to get a 50 bag and 7 out of 8 chance you'll get a blue jar. That happens every 6 small enemies you kill. So they kill 6 small enemies in that cave, and the 6th one gives them a drop, and exactly what frame they kill that 6th enemy on determines what that drop will be. That's a counter that starts when character control begins, when character loads up in the starting temple. So they go from there directly to that cave, and they try to do everything in their actions completely consistently to kill that thing on the same frame every time. And they pick spots in the counter where there's other adjacent 50 bags that they could get several frames away, so even if they miss, they still have somewhat of a chance of getting it, better than the 1 in 8 chance they would have if they just did it at random. And it looks like they both got it, so all that practice paid off.
Yep. And what Fees was referring to with P-Bags is, unlike most of the other Zelda games that you have ever played, this one actually implements an experience point system that is the counter you see up in the upper right corner of both of their screens. There are also 3 different abilities that can be leveled up: attack power, magic power, and life. The attack power is going to be the one that takes the most experience to level up, and it's also the highest priority. So what both of the runners are going to be doing is they're going to be attempting to get to attack 8, which is the maximum level of attack they can get, as fast as possible. Now, how they're going to do that, 1, by killing enemies. That's the easiest way to get experience. And number 2, at the end of each of the 6 palaces that are required to go through here, there's a gem that Link has that he will be placing into a shrine. When Link places that, and there's a bad bubble room there, so Scorpion Max getting knocked into the water and dying, so he's going to lose some time there. But the shrines at the end of the palaces, when you put the gem into it, will give you enough experience to reach the next level on your counter. So what you're going to be seeing the runners attempt to do is manipulate their experience so that they're going to get the most possible experience from the gem at the end of the palaces.
And we saw that neither player managed to get the bubble skip. So there's a fixed encounter that the players can skip by let's see. What they try to do is set up the enemies to appear at just the right time so that they can walk down the path and sort of get hit from the side by one of the enemies. And if you end up getting that random encounter in exactly the same spot that you would normally get a fixed encounter, it'll just skip that fixed encounter, which in this case is bubbles, this area with some water you can fall into and a bunch of bubbles. It takes a lot longer than it would to do a random encounter, so that's why they prefer to do that. But they managed to both miss it, so they're still pretty much even, except for the death that Scorpion Max had.
If you guys missed it while we were getting quality options, I believe they both got the 50-point bag in Trophy Cave?
Yes.
Right.
So in addition to the 50-point bag that was just mentioned, That is a drop on the small enemies drop scale. There is also what's known as the big 6 enemy drop scale. So every 6 enemies on that one, there's a 50% chance of a 200 experience point P-bag dropping and a 50% chance of a red jar dropping. The red jar fully restores your magic. So because they both got the 50-point P-bag, they're going to be only looking for one of the 2 P-bag drops here. Is that correct, or is it still both they're looking for?
I think they only need one. It's going to depend. Unless one of these players gets hit by a lot of experience draining enemies, which is not too likely, they probably only need one. So about 25%, or sorry, about 75% chance they're going to get what they're after.
So the experience point draining enemies that were being referred to, those little jumping things, the little dagger that you see BB just killing now, those are called tin suits. Those are some of the different enemies in the game that can, when they hit you, actually drain your experience.
Yep, they you might see these guys take one hit or something by accident, but it's unlikely that you're going to see several. And I think they would have to be hit by at least 2 of these guys before they would need to start farming experience from the bots or anything like that.
The bots being the adorable little blue slime-like things that you're going to be seeing throughout the game. And as innocuous as they look, they're extremely dangerous because their movements are random and you never know where they're going to be moving on you. So bots are very dangerous because of the fact that they can just sort of jump at you and not necessarily kill you themselves, but knock you back into pits, which will then kill you. So
Alright, we got Scorpion Max dealing with this last club throwing guy right here. And he's about to get the candles. So only about 1 room separating these 2 players, maybe 2 rooms at this point.
yeah, the candle item that BB already got and that Scorpion just got, that item is going to allow us to see what is going on through the rest of the caves, because the first 2 caves we went through in the game were dark because we can have a light source. So now, for your and our viewing pleasure, we can see the enemies Link is going to have to kill in the rest of the caves throughout the game.
Well, so far it looks like... Oh, Scorpion Max gets his 200 bag.
As does BB.
And BB gets his second chance 200 bag. Lucky for him.
Yep.
Max now has the option, if he wants to, of running underneath the red club thrower, the Doom Rattler, if he wants to skip that fight, save a few seconds. BB is going to do single hits on Horsehead, and that's an interesting strat. See, he lured Horsehead over to the left side of the screen first, and then did all 8 of the hits in a row, rather than doing 4 and then luring him back and then doing another 4.
So as you can see, as BadBrakes puts this gem into the shrine, he's got 100 of 1,000 experience points, but now he's going to go up to the full 1,000, which will get him up to attack 4. And leaving Palace 1 with attack 4 is where both of these runners want to be. And as you can see, Scorpion was plenty of experience, just leaving the extra 200 point P-bag right there on the floor. Excuse me. And this is the other strategy you'll see a lot of people use with Horsehead is 4 hits, have him come back on the screen and 4 hits again. So 2 very different methods of taking out the boss here of Palace 1, and both equally as effective. So now what we have here is BadBrakes is into what is called Trophy Cave. It is a small little cave located in the Tantari Desert. That item that looks like an angel or a Christmas tree topper is actually a trophy that a woman from the town of Ruto lost. By bringing this trophy back to her, she will let you into her house where you can speak to the old wise man in the basement, who will teach Link the jump spell. And the jump spell does exactly what it says it does on the logs. It causes Link to jump higher.
Okay, and we see Scorpion Max right now picking up the trophy as well. So this jump spell is necessary in order to proceed out of this area. You're sort of stuck in this western part of the continent until you get the jump spell. That lets you exit through this cave down in the southwest. And from there, you get on to Death Mountain will be the next thing.
That's an interesting sound.
Yeah, very much so. So at this point in the game, this is going to be the longest point where we go between palaces. Normally you're supposed to go to palace the way the game is laid out for you intended to do, which this is a speed run. Nothing has ever gone as it's intended to do. So the game intends you to do a couple palaces, pick up a couple of spells between each palace. Well, that's not going to happen here. We're going to do what I like to refer to as our shopping section. Considering in the States yesterday was Black Friday, it is appropriate that Link is going to do all of his shopping in one fell swoop. The list of things that Link is going to be picking up here shopping is he's already picked up the jump spell. Then we're going to pick up a letter, which will allow us to cross a river. We're then also going to pick up a life spell, a hammer item, a downstab attack, and a fairy spell. In addition to that, we're also going to be picking up some magic ant jars and life containers. And when we reach all of those, I will give more specifics, or Feasel or Mythical will give more specifics on what the requirements are to get those. But right now, as you can see, BB has made his way through the aptly named Jump Cave and is making his way through the first set of swamp areas, getting a little bit trolled there on that swamp encounter. The overworld encounters, you're going to see a lot of weird movement on the overworld to try and manipulate those encounters. But what BB is going to do right now is he's going to go head to this forest and find this secluded cabin in the woods. No, this isn't some guy waiting to sit there and murder you. This is Bagu. Bagu is going to give you a note to give to the Riverman in the river town of Saria. And that's the first item we're going to get I was talking about. That note allows you to cross a bridge, which will effectively get you to the other side.
Yep, we saw BadBrakes with pretty good luck there, or pretty good monster patterns getting to Bagu, and it looks like Scorpion Max has also managed to pull off a pretty nice Bagu walk. Oops, BB goes a step too far. That's fun. Fortunately, it was just a path encounter, so that's not too many seconds lost.
No, not at all. Now, this is the river town of Saria, and in addition to having the riverman here that can cross the bridge, Link actually goes and checks underneath this table. And this is actually an instance of Link talking in-game, because Link says, "Hey, I found this mirror." Turns out that there's a lady in town who lost her mirror, this one right here, and if you go and return her mirror to her, she'll again let you inside of her house to go speak to the wise old man in the basement, who will give you the life spell. Now, the life spell is going to be extremely important throughout this run because it does, again, exactly what it says on the label. It's going to restore your life. It's going to restore an amount of life similar to what a fairy would restore in Zelda 1, which is going to be 3 hearts, or in this case 3 bars. The difference is, each bar of life in this game is equivalent to 16 hit points, whereas each heart in Zelda 1 was equivalent to, 1.
Well, I think it was actually like a really weird number. Like, isn't there something that hits you for like 1/8 of a heart?
In Zelda 1, the only thing, it's usually a half a heart or a full heart, but the heads of Gleeok hit you for 3/8 of a heart of damage.
Right, that's it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this is the Riverman, who, hey, Bagu, I can actually make this random bridge appear and help you cross. See? Because, boom, bridge.
It's all about who you know. And if you know Bagu, then you're good to go.
Yep.
Alright, coming into Death Mountain here for BadBrakes. This is a place where you can really save or lose a lot of time, depending on how you do it. Let's see if he goes all out here. He's had no accidental deaths or anything so far, so he doesn't really have anything to lose at this point.
Nope. So
Keeping Beam Sword here through the early sections.
going for Magic 2 here. Now, just a quick note, when it comes to leveling up, specifically life and magic, properly timed leveling up throughout the game can also help, because when you level up life or magic respectively, you get fully healed in that category. So you may possibly see runners take levels at weird time just because they need the refill. Now this, as Fiza mentioned, this is Death Mountain, the same Death Mountain from Zelda 1. The difference here is, instead of being, just a bunch of overworld locations you go through, this is actually a maze-like series of interconnecting caves. And so these guys are going to make it look fairly easy, the path to get through. But for someone playing through this the first time, this can be very, very confusing just because of the nature of what it is.
Yep, it's meant to be a maze, and this is meant to take you a long time to explore your way through. These players are going to visit less than half of Death Mountain to take the shortest path. If you ever need to remember the shorthand way through, just always go right. Just go right, and that's it. That's all you got to do.
Which I always find hard, because whenever I'd be playing like RPGs or tabletop RPGs and doing dungeon crawl, my theory is always, when in doubt, go left.
Go left first. Well, you do the
I always
longest
got
way.
lost through Death Mountain.
Right. I think there are multiple ways through it. It's just you're not going to find the fastest way unless you go right.
Now, Death Mountain, this is going to be leading us to Spectacle Rock. Yes, that Spectacle Rock, the same one from the end of Zelda 1. Now, what we're going to be doing is, in Zelda 1, we bombed to the left side of Spectacle Rock. However, we're not going to be going through there entirely. We're going to be going through the right side of Spectacle Rock, which in the 6 years between Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 has kind of collapsed on itself. So we have this cave here where BB is currently in, and at the end of this cave, we're going to find the hammer item. Not to be confused with the Megaton hammer from, Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time. This hammer is an overworld item that allows you to smash boulders and apparently cut down trees. In all the times you've been doing this, we still haven't figured out how the hammer lets you cut down a tree, but we're working on it. We've got our little hamsters figuring that out.
Oh, we got BadBrakes getting some double hits. Both players, I think, were doing double hits on these areas. But, let's see. BadBrakes still managing to keep his lead. He hasn't really had any significant time setbacks, so we're pretty much in a holding pattern between the two players at this point.
Yeah, Scorpion Max got banged up a little bit early on in Death Mountain, but he just held out till the magic refill with the red jar, and with that, you're right, he's right back on pace.
So now that we've picked up the hammer, the next thing we're going to do is, if you remember where level 9 was in Zelda 1, that portion of Spectacle Rock you're going to see in a minute. So when we use the hammer to smash that boulder, we'll find that level 9 is mostly gone after you killed Ganon. However, he did conveniently leave a nice magic jar for him.
Max getting 200 bags so far, so he's got quite a lot of experience to work with.
That's right. Basically, they're okay. They're probably going to get Attack 5 in Palace 2. But the more of these P-Bags you pick up, the sooner you get it, and that will make certain parts of Palace 2 a little faster. It does mean you need to pay attention so that you don't get too much experience, but it can be worth it.
Yeah, and what they're going to be looking at is they want to get Attack 5 as early into Palace 2 as they can, and they want to be leaving Palace 2, the Swamp Palace, with Attack 6.
That's right, they're going to want to get above Attack 5, earn Attack 5 by earning the experience, and then they're going to want to get above the experience thresholds for both magic and life, so that the palace bonus, when they put the crystal at the end of Palace 2, the palace bonus will take them all the way up to the next attack level, which is 6. So we call that maximizing the palace bonus. That's how you end up with very high attack levels early on in the game.
And one thing of note, you saw both runners do it when they exited the magic jar cave that was level 9. They both ducked into first the right-hand side of Spectacle Rock and then another cave in Death Mountain. The reason they're doing that is to reset the overworld encounters so that they can maximize their chances of not getting one on their way to everything else.
Right. There are so many ways that players have come up with to avoid encounters. Every time you have to step off of the path here, you're probably going to see BadBrakes do something
right now.
Yep, to get into this medicine cave here.
You'll see 2 encounters appearing in a row right there as soon as he walks off the path. And that was because he got hit intentionally just 1 square to the left of that first breakable boulder. And that set up the encounter timers so that he could get both of those encounters to spawn immediately when he walked off the path, which makes them much easier to dodge, gets them behind him when he enters the swamp, and doesn't get any more encounters until he gets all the way up to the medicine cave. Yeah, go ahead.
That's the same. I was going to say Max doing the same thing, but the medicine here, we don't actually talk to any of the NPCs, but there is an old woman in the harbor town of Mito, which we're going to be visiting momentarily, who has a sick grandchild who is looking for this medicine, and by bringing this medicine to her, you'll gain access to probably the most utilitarian spell in the game, the fairy spell.
It's this is definitely the only Zelda game where Link can turn into a fairy.
And it's such an adorable fairy, too.
Makes that delightful
sound
noise.
Effects.
Yeah.
Yes, the sound effect is the best part of it.
But it is actually super useful. There's a couple spots in the game where it's mandatory, where you just kind of need to be able to fly to get through. But there are several things you can save yourself from a fiery death by turning into a fairy at the last second. And you can also preemptively use it on dangerous screens and just fly over everything. So you're going to see a lot of the fairy spell.
That's right. There's only really 4 required uses of it in this category, but you're going to probably see some of the players in this tournament using it just to skip rooms, or using it by or to avoid accidents that are about to happen to them.
And you're going to see it.
Go ahead. BadBrakes right now is going in to get the down stab, which is the most useful sword technique. The other sword technique being up stab, which will get a little bit of use in this run, but not nearly as much as down stab. That's pretty much a staple part of Link's arsenal. But the other thing that you're getting in this town besides this is Fairy Spell, which we talked about earlier. And once they've done that, they're ready to go on to Palace 2.
And just a quick note, the names that we have been saying, Ruto, Saria, Mito, I know you're not hearing things. Yes, those are the NPCs you know and love from Ocarina of Time. They got their start here as town names in Zelda 2.
Divinity, an interesting question here in chat. Fairy is the reason why 90% is a more complicated category due to all the magic planning to skip doors and stuff. That's true. You can use the fairy spell to slip through the keyholes in doors, but this is 100% all keys. That means you do have to get all the keys, and you don't necessarily have to open all the doors, right? Because there's one you can ceiling walk past, and people said that's okay.
Correct. You just need a key for every door. You don't necessarily need to open them all.
Right.
Whereas any percent, you want to skip as many keys as possible, and that means carefully planning out your magic usage so that you have enough to cast fairy at key points.
Right, and you very tightly control your experience because of that too, much more so than this category.
Yeah, doesn't any percent cap out at like 252 when it comes to leveling up?
That's any percent deathless does, I think.
Well, the 252.
That's the glitched one.
Yeah, the glitched one though. That does. I don't know if that's what everyone uses or what. But for basically any category besides all keys, because you're going to be using fairy to go through doors, that applies. You do have to be careful about your experience and careful about when you take your level ups, etc., and what magic you use. In fact, in a lot of those categories, you can't even cast the life spell whenever you want, even if you happen to have it, because you're usually saving your magic for fairy. But we had BadBrakes here doing some monster manipulation to try to get as far into the swamp as he can before this next set of monsters spawned, and he got an unfortunate spawn pattern. It didn't look like there was much he could have done with that, but I think he should be good from here on out. Yeah, and he makes it in with just one encounter, so that's pretty good. This is one of the spots in the game where you first start to see really how much different good luck and bad luck can be in your run as far as these monster encounters go. A lot of the other places are just spots where there's more reliable manipulations, but the swamp is very hard to get anything that works 100% consistently.
Yeah, Scorpion Max getting a pretty early encounter there, which is going to make all these other encounters much more likely. So there's 2 already, and he's probably going to have trouble getting there before a 3rd.
Yep. Once you get into one encounter, it tends to snowball from there. But he gets a fortunate back spawn right before the palace, so at least he got in with only 2 encounters.
Yeah, and a couple of things here. You saw both runners do that. Do this when they enter the palace. They stab at the statue at the very beginning. Now in Palace 2, it's going to be guaranteed to give you a red jar. However, in Palaces 3, 4, 6, and 7, when they stab at statues, there's a 50% chance of it being a red jar and a 50% chance of it being an iron knuckle. The iron knuckles are what most Zelda 1 runners would refer to as dark nuts from hell. And 2 points for Lord of Ultimate in the chat for calling out Fiesel on the overlays.
That's right. These nifty overlays were made by Scavenger 216. Thanks so much to him.
Yes, and those 2 points you got, they're perfectly fine, but just remember, everything here is partially made up and the points don't matter, so do what you want with them.
So 300 experience separating these 2, even though BadBrakes has a bit of a lead. Do you think that Attack 5 earlier for Max is going to help him gain some ground here? Is he still going to be behind afterwards?
It'll help a little bit, but we're talking on the order of seconds, like not tens of seconds, really. So there's going to have to be something else that happens to help Scorpion Max catch up. Either just gradually outplaying BadBrakes in terms of execution, or a mistake from BadBrakes. There's still a lot of game to go, a lot of room for mistakes to happen, so honestly I think it still is anybody's game. And he is only still about 2 rooms behind him, so that's not that different, not that far apart.
And we are making our way currently to the palace item, or the dungeon item, here in the Swamp Palace, which is going to be the not at all related to any item that Nintendo may or may not have been marketing at the time, the Handy Glove. I say that, take a look at it. It's definitely a power glove. No marketing there at all, though. What the power glove is going to allow Link to do is these blocks you see currently falling on Link's head, or attempting to fall on his head, currently are unbreakable. However, once Link decides to put on this very, very fashionable set of gloves, he then gains the power to break blocks.
Yeah, with his hands. He actually can break them with his head when they fall on him.
Yes, but see, that's the other thing, is breaking them all with his head. That just means a bunch of concussion lawsuits, and we don't really want to get into that.
Well, we see BB choosing not to ferry through the glove pickup. I wonder if that is intentional, or if he just didn't equip it and decided it wasn't worth it. But that is a few seconds.
A really BadBrakes move. The idea, take a big chunk out of your magic bar just to save a couple of seconds.
Yep.
He's the kind of guy who is always looking to
that.
Save any tiny amount of frames
Right.
that he can.
So yeah, the advantage to not using Fairy there is that you have the ability to cast the life spell. Which he doesn't appear to need at the moment. He's got full health, but you never know. If you wanted to be safe in a race, especially if you're the person who's ahead, you might choose to do that and cast life. We saw BadBrakes do one of the new strats, that very first skeleton that he jumped over, and then he blocked both of the bullets that came out of the statue head that was on the wall. That's a brand new move that he came up with. I believe he came up with it. He was trying to teach some of the other Zelda runners to do it. But just recently...
BadBrakes, picked up Zelda 2 somewhat recently, I feel.
He's been doing it for a little while, but not as long as a lot of the other people who have really good times. I'd say most of the other people on the leaderboard, at his level or above, have been playing it for a lot longer.
Yeah. So he's come in and sort of, he's a pair of fresh eyes, I think, on the game. He's come in and he's found a lot of little things mostly, but all over the place that help either make things more consistent or just a tiny bit faster.
That's right. He put together a video set of a few videos that he recorded of new strats that are all small time savings, fractions of a second, but still, nonetheless, things that I had not seen anybody even think of or even try before. So it's pretty cool to see that there's lots of little strats that are still being discovered for a game that's already been speedrun so much over all these years. It's pretty cool. And BB now has enough experience that he can skip all the rest of these guys because he's got more than the 200 that he would need to get the big palace bonus. He's even skipping this orange one, which I think is a little dubious, but he's skipping all the rest of them. I like to kill the orange one just because it's you have to slow down to skip him, so why even bother?
So this is Helmet Head, who after you take off his 2 helmets, his bald head appears, and I didn't even get a chance to make my joke because BB killed him
so
way
fast.
too fast. Wow.
Well, you're about to get it again here. Max is coming in.
But that was a very, very fast kill on Helmet Head. Yeah, it's Max, though, having to kill the orange iron knuckle there to get to the requisite 200 experience. But say hi to Helmet Head again, who, after you stab off the first 2 helmets, has this bald head appear, who Howie Mandel for those of us who are older, and Voldemort for all you youngins in the audience.
Right on to Palace 3 out of Palace 2. Basically, there was all those side objectives that you're kind of supposed to do before 3. The players have sort of mushed into all the side objectives you do before 2. That's the big Black Friday shopping spree they went on. So they've basically got everything they need to go straight to Palace 3 here.
Yep. And how you're supposed to know how to get to Palace 3 is this graveyard they're going to be walking into here. You see that one big open tomb there? That is known as the King's Tomb. Now, there's an NPC in the town of Ruto known as Error, who when you first encounter Error just tells you his name is Error. He says, "Hey, I am Error." However, a bit later on in the game, there's an NPC that tells you Error's got some information for you. So you go back to Ruto and you talk to Error, and he tells you that south of King's Tomb is a secret. So you walk directly south of King's Tomb and you fall into this cave that BadBrakes is currently in. And this cave is one of the required spots you need fairy in the run, and this cave leads you to this little island, which conveniently happens to be the home of Palace 3, the Island Palace.
Which means that we can switch to our next overlay.
Already
does
ahead of
mean-
you, my friend.
Yeah.
And as you saw BB entering Palace 3, he did stab at the Iron Knuckle statue, and he did get the
the red jar drop. So that is nice for him. He's not going to have to enter and re-exit to refill his magic.
Last race, I think it was the last one I casted. It was oh gosh, was it Rep or was it Paratroopa who they lost 3 lives here in Palace 3 to this one really, really annoying room with a bunch of bots and some lava.
Oh, it was me versus.
It was Light Z.
It was me versus Light Z. I lost 1 life and he lost 2 in there or something like that. It was something.
I think he lost 3.
Oh,
Was that really
Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
That room was terrible to both of us.
So we'll see how it goes for these 2 players.
what we do advise you at home is if you do want to get into this, that's fine, but do not attempt any of these high-level strats. These are professionals, and even they get hurt while doing it. Please do not try this at home. Unless you want to, then try it at home.
Yeah, you should you should do it.
You should try it home and then stream it so people can see you fall in.
And then join the tournament next year.
Right.
I just posted in the chat the link to redcandle.us where any and all speedrunning questions of this game and Zelda 1 can be answered. However, if you also have them, go ahead and ask them in chat. We'll do our best to answer them.
BadBrakes glides through that room like it's nothing.
That
That's
room
right,
is
not
a
even
pain.
worried. That room is difficult. The bots are very unpredictable enemies. You don't know where or when they're going to move. There's just no way to tell. That can surprise you. BB apparently needs the experience from this blue iron knuckle, so he's going back for it.
Yeah,
And,
you missed the jackhammer there. I don't think we've talked about that, but that's basically your down stab only has a 1-frame animation tied to it, so you can pretty much use it as fast as you can press down on the D-pad. It's really great for these 3-tile high hallways and iron knuckles, so you can just kind of jump in there and repeatedly use it, and as long as you hit them, their hitbox is not active, so they don't hit you, and I think it's 5 hits for those blue iron knuckles. It's a little tough to get 5 presses of the D-pad in about the second you spend on top of them. I mean, there are players who can hit up to, 12 to 15 hertz on a button, and that would be plenty. But with a down on the down D-pad is a little different, and so getting up to around the 5 hertz necessary to kill that thing is actually a little tough.
It might be easier if you were left-handed, but I think for most people using their non-dominant hand and using the thumb of that hand, people tend to mash better with their finger than their thumb. So you're pretty much at a disadvantage. You're not going to see a lot of people just going in there and going and like getting insane mashing speeds out of the down button on the D-pad. But I think there's some people who are pretty darn good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of mashing, we did see Scorpion Max there get the jackhammer on that blue iron knuckle. There'll be plenty more times where we're going to see the jackhammer in this run, so if you missed it, don't worry, there'll be plenty more times for you to get that. And to address what that blue iron knuckle was guarding, it's the dungeon item here of Palace 3, the raft. So yes, just like in Zelda 1 where you get the raft in Dungeon 3, you get the raft here in Palace 3, and the raft has the same function. You walk off a dock, you sail, and in this case you're going to head off to the eastern half of the continent, which is where level 4 is located. Conveniently in Zelda 1, you go off a dock to an island where level 4 is located. Anyway, for those who may or may not like My Little Pony in the house, this is Rebanak, aka My Little Brony. And there's why, he's riding the pony. And there's more jackhammer strats for you. There is a specific location on that corner where, as you saw BB getting it, where you can just stand there and constantly pogo stick off the iron knuckle's head, and you will eventually kill him. And BB getting up to where he needs to go for experience points, so he will be leaving Palace 3 with attack 7, which is exactly where he wants to be. And he'll be leaving Palace 3 as you see Scorpion Max heading into the My Little Brony fight.
Yeah, Max did that room. He did that a little bit differently than I see most people do. He broke the set of blocks on the right, the column of blocks on the right instead of the left. And people do that so that the blue iron knuckle won't chase them. But I think that's a little bit slower that way. And here we see the Rebanak fight. Looks like he was not able to get the Rebanak to cooperate. Couldn't get him to go all the way to the left side of the screen, so he had to come down off of his down stab and fight that thing the normal way.
Yep, so yeah, Rebanak, basically once you dismount him from the horse, he is just a blue iron knuckle. Nothing crazy, something we've already seen before.
Right, but that is a fairly evasive enemy and probably one of the harder ones to fight in the game. Even if you're a speedrunner, still one of the trickier ones to fight. In a big open room like that where you don't have any kind of ceiling to bounce off of or anything.
Yeah. Oh, BB is in my favorite town in this game now.
Oh, please do tell. Why is this your favorite town?
So, as we can see throughout this game, you've had to get things for people to get spells. Well, this is the worst one, because as you can see, BB just went over to this fountain and grabbed some water. And then spoke to this lady who was thirsty, who lives 20 feet away from the fountain and can't get it herself. So this random strange teenage boy who she just met is getting her water. So you can get a spell from her old man in the basement. But seriously, 20 feet away from the fountain.
Clearly an excuse.
She's too lazy to get. Yeah. Welcome to the town of Naburu, everybody.
Where they just want attention, that's it.
Yep.
It looks like Max getting into an encounter here. I think BadBrakes also got into an encounter, right? Or did he manage to avoid them all?
I think he managed to avoid
did he avoid them?
Yeah, I was too busy watching Max kill My Little Brony to really pay much attention to it. But coming up here is after we get through this cave.
You avoided them.
we,
Okay.
we are going to be making our way to a very trolly part of the game here. Because once you come out of this cave, there are two ways you can go, left or right. If you go left, you'll make your way to the mountain town of Darunia, but we're not going to go there first. We are going to head to the right to Maze Island. So Maze Island is interesting because, well, one, it's a maze, and two, Nintendo decided they're going to be very trolly with this. So there are a bunch of different ways you can take through here. However, you'll notice up in a second that there's a palace. Now, you can't defeat that palace right now because this cave that BB is falling into is required. Because in here, after you pass through this orange Lizalfos, is a child who has been kidnapped. So Link in adorable fairy form is going to go pick up the kidnapped child, whose sprite is twice as big as Link in a fairy. Not asking. Then you are going to return this child, kidnapped child, to his family in the mountain town of Darunia. Once you do that, you'll be given access to the Reflect spell. That is a required spell because it is the only way to defeat the boss in Palace 4, a giant angry Wizrobe known as Karok. So if you happen to see that palace and run right there before you rescue the kid, you get to the end and you're like, well, I'm pooched. I can't defeat this thing.
Yep, that's a classic old school NES game.
Mm-hmm. Reach a boss that you have no way of damaging, and you've got to figure out what you were missing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, BadBrakes having some bad luck there. He did the setup right, but he happened to get a fairy, and the fairy encounter did not behave the way the normal monsters would, so he ended up running into that fairy, which reset the timer in an awkward spot, reset the encounter timer. So he wasn't able to do the rest of the manipulation that he would normally have done, so he was sort of up to the mercy of RNG at that point. And it looks like he managed to miss the first encounter. He's going for the second encounter skip, though. He almost decided he was going to go for it, but then now he's waiting, and he didn't get the monster.
Where are
pattern
they
he needed.
going, man?
Yeah, the monsters
Those
did not
slimes
help
were
him.
nowhere near.
Nope, not at all. So there are going to be 2 encounters on the way to Darunia and 2 on the way back. So you will get a chance to see more encounter skips, but this is the mountain town of Darunia.
It's also
which
Max's
also has
chance to catch up, too.
a little bit, yep. So you're going to see something a little bit, one of the few tricks, quote-unquote tricks you're going to see in this category is coming up as what's known as the Darunia Super Jump. So by casting the jump spell coming up here, and then jumping and BB getting it first try.
Very nice.
Very, very nice there. The way the jump works is if you jump at the exact correct pixel, you'll pseudo-clip into the roof of that house. Then as the game tries to eject you, it will eject you upward just enough to climb onto the roof, where you then will go all Santa Claus down the roof to then get inside here and talk to this gentleman who will teach you the upstab. Now, the way you're supposed to know about this is twofold. One, if you talk to the door, it says you can hear something in the room. And number 2, there's going to be a house here coming up. That one, that's very small, but you can jump on the roof. And then if you do it that way, you go Batman across the rooftops of Darunia and, well, get your upstab. Now, this is the location where BB is going to be returning the kidnapped child to his grandmother and getting the Reflect spell. And all that time Scorpion could have made up, he lost by not getting the super jump on his first couple of tries.
That's right. He looks like he was jumping a bit early. You want to go until the front of Link's sprite is maybe about 4 pixels past that wall. And it looked like he was jumping much earlier than that most of those times. But yeah, that was his chance to catch up right here. Still could be anybody's game. But probably the good luck that Scorpion Max had getting through that encounter section has now been eaten up by that.
Yeah, also don't be fooled by the sink. They were in 2 different rooms there.
That's right. Oh, BB, where are you going?
Whoop, just doing a loop. It's just something he came up with, maybe.
And I don't know about that.
Well, those monsters spawned right when he was in front of the thing.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. And he manages to get both of the skips, so he's still in good shape. That didn't actually lose him any time. Now this is a very tricky forest walk. He's going to pause right here, and then, he didn't even get a chance to do it. He didn't even get a chance.
No. The overworld enemies are just not playing nicely with BB right now.
Oh yeah, he had yet another encounter. So now, once again, if Scorpion Max can get a perfect monster walk here, he might end up making up some time. Oh, BB pause buffers that second one, but walks the wrong way after it. He might have been able to avoid that. Let's see how Max does. There we go, some somewhat cooperative enemies.
Yeah, it was looking pretty bad there, but
Yeah.
that guy came straight down for him. And not going to get this other one.
Yep.
Yeah, well, if it comes to encounters you want to skip on the way to Darunia, that one closest to the town is the one you would prefer to skip, just because in addition to the enemies, there are also bubbles involved.
And let's see if he gets the rest of this. Nope, he paused buffered a little bit too late. He wanted to stop a square earlier to see where those enemies appeared before moving.
So you're going to see the path that they're going to take through Maze Island. This is going to look like the longest path around, and distance-wise, on the overworld, technically it is. But what the path they're going to take allows them to do is, one, there's only one forced encounter that they're going to have to do. So it's mostly just overworld walking that they're going to have to contend with. You're also going to see them get a magic container on the path that they're going as well. So that's why you see them take this long, drawn-out path. It may look like it's, going to take them a lot longer, but it actually is the fastest one because there's only one forced overworld encounter. And welcome to Palace 4, the Maze Palace. This would be a wonderful time for an overlay change.
No, it wouldn't. I don't agree with that.
He is the one who gets final say, I guess. We can't really stop him if he
Veto.
decides he likes
Overridden.
Palace 3 more than Palace 4. BadBrakes got a jar from the statue there, and he could have refilled his life by casting life and then got the magic to refill his magic, but there are plenty of opportunities to just kill yourself to save time in Palace 4. And BadBrakes has not died yet, I'm pretty sure, so he's probably going to be looking to use most of his lives here.
Yeah, I bet he'll use all three. And he just took life 4, even though he didn't really need that life. He's about to suicide here, but I think he want to take it at some point, and he's not going to want to waste frames having the level pop up. Oh, BadBrakes, what have you done with BadBrakes?
Safe strats, what?
That's not the same guy.
No, what is this?
That's okay. He has 2 other opportunities to take a death.
He's certainly going to take the one before Carrick.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Of the 3 options to do death abusing here, and what we mean by death abuse is when you die in this game, as you can see, you have 1,000 lives and stuff. So when you die in this game, what happens is you're transported to the very beginning of the room you died in, and you get a free life and magic refill. So you're going to see them do a lot of that. Speaking of items and all that, those are the items here for Dungeon 4. Those are the very stylish, very trendy boots. Now what those boots are going to allow Link to do is walk on water. So by putting on a pair of gloves, you get to break blocks, and by putting on a pair of boots, you get to walk on water. I want to go live in Hyrule.
Yeah, man. Stuff's magic. Straight up.
Yeah, I want to see what Link can do once he equips the cowboy hat. Right? That's in the next palace?
I think so, yeah.
You can talk to all form of cattle.
Well, we see BadBrakes taking a death there. We also saw 2 new BadBrakes moves happen within the last minute here. You see him, the way he jumped over that red skeleton that was there. Instead of fighting him from the left, he just jumped right over and skipped it. And that's a very risky move. You could end up getting knocked off that ledge or pushed off or missing your jump. Lots of things can go wrong, but he did it anyway. And he did another thing, one more floor up. He did a downstabbing the skull bubble, and it didn't look like a downstab. You actually come at it from below, but end up downstabbing the thing anyway, which is kind of weird. It doesn't look like you should be able to. So
It's kind of like Mario 1, where as long as you're falling, it doesn't matter how you come into contact with an enemy, you still bounce off of them.
yeah, it's sort of like that, because you normally would think you downstab a thing from above, but instead he came up from below and hit it. Yeah, made a little Tetris block shaped indentation there.
Yeah, basically if you tap down, you will do the downstab, even if you're just standing. So you tap it for even the slightest bit, and Link will start plummeting through these blocks.
Yeah, I think you have to be jumping, but because every time you jump, I mean half the time when you jump, you're jumping and then immediately crouching to slash something. just mistiming it or hitting them both at the same time, you could end up digging right through.
And just getting yourself caught in those blocks is going to take time, because then you have to jump your way out, dig your way out. So, and those are going to be little optimizations that in a race as close as this could be the difference between winning and losing. So keep an eye out for those, because there's going to be a lot more rooms like this throughout the rest of the race. So that is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about this category as a race category. There's so much content to it because you are playing almost every room in the game that it really just gives the maximum opportunity for people to play well or to make mistakes. It's really one of the good things about this category as a race. Oh man, speaking of, he's going to cast jump to get out of there. There's no easy way out.
Yeah, he'd be digging through the whole thing pretty much.
Yeah, well, he has upstab, so that gives him some options, but it's still going to be slow even if he tries to come out the top.
We got a question in chat here from, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it because I'll butcher it, but how do you even crouch stab when you have down stab? Is it simply impossible?
Well, the answer is that you crouch stab when you hit the B button, but to down stab you don't press the B button at all, you just press down. So the game will let you, while you're holding down and jumping, you'll be down stabbing, you'll press B and it'll switch you over to a crouching stab, and then it'll go back to down stabbing after the sword slash is finished. So it's even possible with that to get some triple hits. You can come in, hit an enemy while you're holding down for down stab, then hit the B button to do a crouch slash, and then go back to a down stab again. You can get some triple hits in like that if you can time it right.
So you saw BB there taking the third and final death here. And that is to get basically a magic refill, because your magic is required to defeat this boss, Karok. Karok is one of the two bosses in the game that damaging him is not affected by your attack level. He will take a total of 8 hits no matter what. And how you're going to defeat him is Wizrobes in this game are immune to the sword, so you have to cast the reflect spell on your magic shield to reflect their magic beams back against them. Karok is a very, very random fight. What's going to happen is you're going to see them enter the boss chamber here and keep moving. If they do it correctly, the first hit on Karok is guaranteed. The rest of them are going to be random because Wizrobes appear and disappear, and they can only be damaged when they are solid. So BB is just going to sit here in the corner and relax, and hopefully get a bunch of hits on Karok to end this.
Yeah, looks like he's not doing all that well. It's about average so far.
Yep.
Yeah, average fight.
Karok can teleport right on top of you if he wants to, and you kind of can't do anything about it. So if you do get really, really bad RNG, you can just straight up die in this fight, and it is not your fault at all.
Alright, let's see if Max has an above average fight. That's certainly what he needs at this point if he wants to start catching up.
And while we're waiting for Max to get there, I want you guys to keep in mind that BB is about to just immediately head into Palace 5. Now, directly north of Palace 5, there is a location where you can pick up a heart container, but by doing it this way, he is setting up for a manipulation known as the River Dance, which is a BadBrakes discovered thing, and we'll discuss that more when we get there, but I just wanted to point out that that's what we're going for right now. And very, very good Karok fight there for Max.
That's definitely what Max needed. I've noticed he's been losing time very gradually throughout this, so I think that some of the strats that he's using are not quite as optimized as what BadBrakes is, so he's going to need things like this to be able to make up time. He's also probably still going to have to rely on a mistake from BadBrakes at this point, who's playing it relatively safe, it seems. Because, yeah, his lead isn't really decreasing all that much, so... Oh no, you guys.
Did he do it? Did he forget the key?
He forgot the key. Get into his channel real quick and tell him. He's gonna know in a moment.
He's gonna know in a minute.
Oh man, so this key is... it's kind of infamous for exactly this situation.
Watch it right here. Watch, guys.
Oh God. His reaction was brutal too.
His face scrunched up.
They're going to be exactly even. I
Yeah,
think.
watch this.
So,
When you're a fairy, you cannot pick up any keys, so you have to go all the way past this key and then double back for it. And it's real easy to just keep going like everything's okay.
I've done it before. It can happen.
Yep.
So now, yeah, BadBrakes will be a little bit ahead of Max, but it's going to be much closer now. They'll be within one room of each other. See, right here, they're in the same room at the same time now, so that's...
And Max remembering to go back and get the key.
Yep, just like that, the lead's gone.
I wonder if everyone in this chat was like, he forgot the key!
Let me check. No, nobody
No
in
one said
his
anything?
chat, in BB's chat, saying anything about him forgetting the key. And in Max's chat, no, nothing about the key.
Nothing.
Nope.
Because it's one of those rare situations where your popularity can affect your ability in this tournament by simply having enough people cheering for you that they'll call things out for you.
Right, I tend to go with the giant post-it note stuck to my TV method instead.
Remember the key.
Yep. Well, so here's a room here where we see a lot of variability between how the performance that the different players get here, and it's really nothing to do with how good you are. It's just a matter of where these blocks fall. And BadBrakes, he had the right idea, but man just was not getting the right pattern.
So he is officially behind now, and he did have a chance to grab that key earlier, to be fair. Like, the blocks were giving him a terrible pattern, but he did have one clean jump up to that key, and he pressed left too soon, and the sword did not come out before he turned around.
Yep, so now they're very even. Looks like Scorpion Max just a little bit ahead of him. Maybe about 4 seconds, I'm counting.
Yeah. The chat never ceases to amaze me. Masamune Z, remember going back to get that key in Palace 5? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I keep getting more and more impressed with the level of trolling in Twitch chats. It's becoming more sophisticated. Now, just to point out, these Fire Hag enemies, I can never remember their name. They're Magos or Mogas or Magos or something like that. They are very similar. Mangoes, yes. They are very similar to Wizrobes in the sense that they appear and disappear. However, they are dissimilar in the fact that, unlike a Wizrobe, the Magos are weak to being stabbed in the face. However, they will appear and disappear, and if you manage to jump over them, sometimes they'll just turn around and spit fire exactly where you're going to land. So they can be a bit of a troll sometimes.
Yep, and they do a lot of damage, but they're worth a lot of experience. So that's the one nice thing about this palace is you're never really lacking for XP here. This is a good place to catch up if you've screwed up anything with your magic and life levels. Up to this point, there is a lot of experience available to correct that. And we see Max casting Fairy, getting the magic level up immediately in time to refill his magic again, and he's back on track. BB having a little bit of trouble landing that jackhammer. Once he gets pushed back far enough, you can't really jackhammer that iron knuckle anymore.
Ooh, he did use life there, and it's a good thing he did.
And he just cast jump, so you know what he's about to do.
Yep. And the reason he can do that is because different palaces in this game have different percentages when it comes to jar iron knuckle drops. Palaces 1, 2, and 5, they are all 100% red jar guarantees, whereas palaces 3, 4, 6, and 7 is the 50-50 chance. So casting jump there was a guarantee to get the red jar. And the item that they both just picked up there is the musical plunger. It's supposed to be a flute, but let's be serious, it looks like a plunger. And what that's going to do is it has 2 uses in the game. The first one here, and by the way, nice key grab there by Max. We all know that's very important.
Very important, yeah.
The flute has 2 uses. One, you're going to see coming up at the end of Palace 5 when they go back to the world map. There is a giant enemy sitting in the middle of the path who doesn't want to move, known as the River Devil. So what you have to do is you have to blow the flute to get him to move. Snorlax, anybody? And the other thing that the flute does is similar to Zelda 1, where blowing the flute on a specific screen will unlock level 7.
6 in this.
It's going to unlock level 6 here by standing on a very specific tile and blowing the flute.
Yes, and we see BadBrakes going for the other red jar that's hiding in that block. See, not all the jars are in statues. Some of them are in random places. There's a few spots in the game where just hitting a certain block will do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple commentators were caught off guard when someone dug way down into a series of blocks to get a red jar that they had no idea was there. Yeah.
Yep, that's one that a lot of people go right by and they don't realize it's there, but it's very helpful, and there's a certain pattern for getting it that only costs you maybe about 4 seconds, 3 seconds maybe to get it, so it's reasonable for a speedrun. But we got Max here managing to pull ahead by a lot. He's widened his lead to several rooms, and is now about to get the last key.
Got held up by a Mago, actually. Put a fire right underneath a series of blocks, and there was really no way to jump over it without getting hit. So BadBrakes just waited, and then another one spawned on top of the fire and threw another one, and
Yep, and he had some trouble with that blue iron knuckle back there by the flute, so really just the worst case scenario for him in this palace.
So while we're waiting for the both runners to get to the end of Palace 5 here, what are the chances we attempt to see a jackhammer on Guma?
On Guma,
you'll see an attempt.
I'm sure there will be
sure.
from at least from BadBrakes, if not from both players, because they have enough magic and life, and they can cast shield and cast the life spell if they need to, that they probably can afford to take it risky at Guma.
Yep, Guma being the boss of Palace 5 here.
Yep, you're about to see this. One of the more difficult bosses to deal with. Most of the other bosses are fairly simple once you know the patterns. This guy is always tricky.
Yeah, he's got a lot of range in his attack, and it's fairly unpredictable.
And he does a lot of damage. Even with shield spell, you can't afford to take too many hits here. So we see Max. I don't know if he was trying to go for a jackhammer, but he ended up fighting Goomba the traditional way.
Decent fight too.
Yep, pretty decent. And let's see if BB goes for it.
Yep.
He's trying. Got a few in. Oh, and ended up pushing him off screen. That's bad.
That is. So something to keep in mind here, as you saw when Max put the gem in and BB's going to do the same thing, you're seeing that they're going to be getting up to 9,000 experience. Now, that technically is what you're going to need to get to attack 9. Now, attack 9 isn't actually going to give you anything other than a 1-up. So instead of taking attack 9, what the plan is to take multiple levels of magic and life to get your where you want to. Now, as you saw there, you saw some interesting movement on the water there by Max. You're going to see the same thing from BB. This is known as the river dance. And what that allows you to do is manipulate encounters so that you get this first fence skip coming up.
That's right, and it looks like Max did not get the fence skip. That manipulation that he did, the river dance, prevents you from getting encounters on the way to the river devil, and gives you a setup where you can potentially get a nice efficient fence skip, but still the monsters have to cooperate with you. And BadBrakes, you'll see him, he took 2 extra steps beyond the shortest path here, and he's going to hit the grass right there, and he gets a great pattern, so guaranteed no encounters on the way to River Devil, and if he gets this fence skip, then he's going to be quite caught up. There we go.
Yep. We are back to being basically even again. And now what the river dance does is there are actually 2 encounter timers in the game. One is based on the number of steps that Link takes. The other is based on the number of seconds he spends on the world map. So the river dance, what the river dance does is it attempts to manipulate both timers or both encounter generators so that they are going to be in sync with one another. So by taking those 2 extra steps on the water, that is what's going to put them in sync with one another. Max and BB are going to be stopping off at this bridge again to reset the encounter tiles. And we are on our... Ooh, that was
Another
a very tough
ferry,
spot.
Another unfortunate ferry collision. We'll see if BadBrakes can do it. Pause buffer the second one. He doesn't know where it is. Oh, there we go. And he got a favorable encounter pattern and no encounters into the Tektite Cave. So now we really are neck and neck and seeing a little bit of fire.
Yeah, because the Tektites in this game, as well as the River Zolas, which are the blue lizard-looking things, can only be killed with the fire spell. And we are basically neck and neck here. This is great. We are on our way now to the town of New Kasuto. New Kasuto is going to be a hidden village that you're going to need to chop down a tree with a hammer to get to right here. It is a hidden village because Ganon's horde decided they're going to overrun Old Kasuto town. Now, New Kasuto is a very interesting town here is because it has 3 goodies for us to pick up. The first one is the very, very appropriately named spell named Spell. Unlike most of the other spells in this game, where what you get is what's on the label, Spell is one of those very interesting things. What is Max forgot to go in the chimney?
He's reading the chat. I do that too.
So remember the magic word, which is the spell.
Not
So So the second thing you're going to get here in New Kasuto Town is there's a screen at the end of town that has supposedly nothing in it. However, if you cast the spell in that town, you will have a shrine appear. Inside that shrine is the magic key. Now, because this is an all keys and 100% run, you need it to fulfill 2 categories. But more importantly than that, there is only keys in Palace 6 to open up the item door and the shrine door. So the magic key is required to get through Palace 6, unless, of course, you're glitching your way through it. But then that's a different category altogether. The final item you're going to be getting here is the 8th and final magic container in the game, which is why you see them just casting fairy all nonchalantly, because they'll just get the magic container and refill their magic. Now, the magic containers are interesting in this game because we haven't addressed it yet, but and Max stopping to get a quick life refill there. But the magic containers in this game are interesting because, as you can see, whenever they go to the meter when it comes to their spells, you'll notice that they are listed in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shield, jump, life, fairy, reflect, fire. They're all in a specific order. Now, what that means is that you need a certain number of magic containers to be able to get that spell. So, for example, the 7th spell on the list, which is spell, requires 7 magic containers to get. So you need all 8 magic containers to be able to get all the 8th level spell. The 8th level spell being Thunder, which is a required spell to defeat the penultimate boss in the game, Thunderbird.
Yeah, and now that it's really close, everyone's noticing the small errors all over the place, because this is when it really makes a difference.
Yeah, and actually, Chad brings up a good point. Max stopping there to get the life refill is a bit strange, because the next item they're going to pick up is actually a heart container, which will give them a life refill.
Yep, and actually, I can see doing that in a race for safety's sake. Wait, first let's look at the slink here. Let's see if these guys get a slink. BadBrakes fails the slink. Scorpion Max actually got a lucky pattern. He didn't need to slink, but then he ran into the second set of encounters. So it looks like Max is at least going to get through with only 1 encounter. BB has some work to do. He failed the pause buffer. He pause buffered at the right time, but made the wrong direction choice. So he gets 2 encounters, hopefully not 3. There we go. He gets 2 encounters on the way to the heart. And he's all set from here on into Palace 6.
The Hidden Palace, aka the Magenta Palace, aka Background Shift.
Man, BadBrakes he's making some kind of uncharacteristic errors here. I wonder if he's a little shaken up.
I'll tell you, it's a very different thing, regardless of how many attempts you've done. Doing an actual race that counts, it definitely puts you in a different mindset. It's hard to recreate that nothing really matters kind of mindset that you get when you're just doing attempts one after another by yourself in a race, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's the added pressure of making sure you don't screw up too badly, because there's a bunch of people watching it. Whereas normally, for most of these runners, when they're streaming, they're not used to, large crowds of people watching them. They may have 20, 30 people. Whereas with a lot of these race restreams, there's 300-400 people watching, so it can affect nerves, absolutely.
We saw someone's UI flickering a little bit there. That's kind of just what happens when Zelda 2 lags.
Not a lot of places where it lags.
Yeah, that's true. It's normally running real smooth, but when it does lag, boy, does it ever just crap out. There's one category. Is any percent deathless?
The up A one where the route that I use skips those 2 moblins, and that causes insane amount of lag.
Yeah.
We had Max, the very unfortunate... Oh, BadBrakes went up too high in the blocks. That's interesting. So Scorpion Max attempted the quick kill, failed. Let's see if BadBrakes is able to get a quick kill. He stands in a slightly different spot than most people, and he doesn't have any better luck than Max did. But Max actually was in a pretty bad situation in the previous room. He got one of those Moas to drop a fireball right on the spot that he was supposed to jump from, like right at the edge of that invisible pit that he needed to jump over. So that set him back a few more seconds.
So Palace 6 here is the only palace that has mini bosses, which is again my little brony Rebanak. And what that first Rebanak is guarding is the final dungeon item we're going to be getting in the game, the Cross. Now what the cross does is, unlike in Castlevania, where it's kind of actually really cool and it's used as a boomerang and can be thrown a bunch of things, Lord Banana hype, in this game it just allows you to see invisible enemies, which we will be getting to shortly when we visit the next town coming out of Palace 6.
So Palace 6 is a little bit different than the other palaces in that the magic usage is really strict in here. You need to be able to cast Fairy twice, and you're going to want to be able to cast Jump once for the boss to do it quickly. And then there are 2 places where you probably want to cast the Jump spell to get over that pit that you can't see in the floor.
Ooh, Ceiling Walk, double Ceiling Walk!
Double Ceiling Walk, that's amazing, look at that. So that is, I don't know, is it a frame perfect trick, pixel perfect? I don't know what to call it. It's a something perfect trick. You have to do this previous screen transition and hit the wall at just the right time as you're doing the screen transition, and it doesn't know what your horizontal positions should be, and it puts you a little bit farther over than you're meant to, and that gets you up on the ceiling. But that was cool to see a synchronized ceiling walk.
It really was, and that's allowed in this category because they picked up the magic key ahead of time. And the magic key it does require is a key, so it's going to allow, because you have the key for the door. BB is going to pick up a little time here because Max had to take an intentional death so he could refill his magic meter to cast Fairy, because that is the only way to get through this room is by casting Fairy.
Why was his magic low? Did you see what happened to him? Did he get hit by a drainer?
He has to jump a bunch of times to try and get through a bunch of different things, and he just didn't get a red jar drop.
Ah, okay. Yeah, normally if you don't cast Jump anywhere beyond where you really need it, other than that room with the invisible floor, or invisible pit in the floor, then you should have just enough, but sometimes things happen. BadBrakes with a pretty good Ribbonack fight, but not a quick kill. Scorpion Max again with a pretty good fight, but not a quick kill. Still fairly fast, though.
Yeah, chat telling me also that Max had to cast Life after the first My Little Brony because he was down to 1 block of life.
Yeah, that's usually the reason I see for having to take the intentional death there.
So we are now entering the boss of level 6. This is Barva. So it's basically a giant fire dragon. You're going to see some jackhammer strats. Almost. Ooh.
Let's see. Wait for it. Oh, he didn't finish it, and the thing kills him. Oh. I'm sure he's not happy about that. He's walking back out and in again to reset the timer on Barba, so he'll know exactly where he's going to appear. Meanwhile, Max pulls ahead with a fairly fast kill there.
Nice jackhammer recovery, though.
And the second time, the jackhammer went really well. Very good move.
Yeah, but the jackhammer was getting over the boss fight was bad because that was a horrible key grab.
That's right, and BadBrakes himself would be the first to say that it's not a good boss fight if you don't have a good key grab.
Yep.
So the last bit of leveling that you're going to see here, you get a free cast of Fairy on this bridge because you're about to refill magic by taking magic level 7, and now we're going to pass, and that leaves us with 5,500 experience out of 6,000. 6,000 is what's needed to buy magic 8. So these guys are going to be able to use all the magic that they need to get through Valley of Death, and then once they reach the end of it, either at the end of Valley of Death or somewhere in Palace 7, they're going to finish off that extra 500 experience and take magic 8 to refill it.
Yep. So this is the town of Old Kasuto. As you can see, it's kind of a wreck because Ganon's bad guys decided they wanted to take it over for themselves. And when we first entered, you saw that purple flying Moa, and you're going to see it again. That is the first enemy that we can actually see because we have access to the cross. Now, in a bunch of other categories here where you don't get the cross, you'll see runners just come in and upstab randomly and trying and hoping to hit the Moa so it doesn't hit them.
Yeah, they have very erratic movement, and you really can't do anything about it if they decide they want to get in your way.
Yeah, there's a few patterns that you can, and that small amount of distance that you're walking, you can usually predict you can usually tell it's going to be one of a certain set of patterns, but every now and then you'll get completely surprised. And it looks like neither of these guys are going to cast any spells to get across this bridge. You might sometimes see the fairy spell here or the jump spell here, but they're just gonna Iron Man it here and do it without. Scorpion
yeah,
Max
had a close call there.
Let's see if BadBrakes sets up the GTM strat. He does not manage to get it. So they're both going to take 2 encounters to get past this thing.
And now, welcome to the Valley of Death, the final overworld area here in the game. There are a bunch of forced encounter tiles here throughout Valley of Death, which you're going to see the runners use the encounter skip strats to get through. And in addition to that, utilizing the other functionality of the spell, which turns all the enemies on screen into the obnoxious blue bots and the adorably sweet red bits.
Yep, we're seeing a lot of use of the spell here. Again, there's different ways of doing this. You could cast Fairy, you could cast Jump, you could cast none of those things and just do it without, but spell's a pretty reliable way. You just go left and cast spell the moment the first set of eyes is on the screen, and you're usually fine. I definitely like the jump spell in this room that BadBrakes is in, but he can't really afford to spend any more magic. Neither of these guys can.
BadBrakes gets the jackhammer over the scorpion. That's actually much tighter than it looks.
It's
The
pretty
scorpion
tricky.
is pretty tall, actually.
Yeah, and at a very awkward spot. And that's sometimes called the Scorpion Max. So, interesting. That's one of our players today. And Max is about to enter Palace 7. Looks like he did not yet get his magic level 8, so he is gonna... I don't know, we'll have to see how he's gonna handle this palace. If he's gonna try to get some experience right away, or see how far he can go before he takes magic 8. He doesn't have a lot of health to work with. But now we're both in the Great Palace, so let's get this background switched.
Absolutely. And Great Palace, again, in my humble opinion, has the best music in this game. I know at least one of my co-commentators agrees with me on that.
I think everyone should agree with you on that.
BadBrakes getting trouble with the spicy chicken here.
Yeah, both of them fighting the spicy chicken because they need the experience. Looks like BB won. Uh-oh. Well, BadBrakes just got his magic refill, whether he wanted it or not. At this point, if I were him, I would probably just use up all my magic passing by these things. Just cast Fairy over everything. Because he still has magic 8 that he can take if he gets another 83 experience.
Both of them need 83 experience.
Yeah.
Currently, they are at the exact same experience total.
Oh, that's pretty unusual.
They also had the same magic and life totals going into the Great Palace.
Very, very interesting. This race could come down to how bad Thunderbird trolls and how bad Dark Link trolls.
And BadBrakes has been experimenting with some new ways of fighting Dark Link, so we'll see if he does any of those. But apparently you can get some very reliable behavior out of Dark Link if you do the fight right. Max having some really bad luck with this Red Bird Knight. He's very low on health, and the bot does him in. And he still has both players now down to their last life.
So we're going to see a lot of magic conservation here. Simply because only being down to this one life, they're not going to have a lot of room to play with when it comes to resetting for Thunderbird.
Yep, they both got a shot at a red jar that they might end up getting. We'll see. Coming up Max here. And if they don't get that, there's a red jar at the very end of the level that they're going to have to go for, and that's going to be a lot of RNG to deal with. So yeah, this is the room where you can get it. Let's see if Max gets it. He probably should go for it, because he needs to cast life. He doesn't even try. Oh, yes, he does.
He was just avoiding the giant floating gargoyle heads.
Right. So he gets probably 2 casts of life plus jump and shield here, I think, and that should take him almost to full. Oh, completely to full. So he's in great shape now. Let's see if BB gets better luck with it. He gets also the same luck. He also gets it first try.
Max getting a little trolled here by this Bluebird Knight, aka Scott Beakula.
Yeah,
That's right.
he is absolutely relentless while you're digging through these blocks.
And BadBrakes gets a great room.
Very, very strong room there.
So now he is quite caught up. He's in the same room as Max right now, and he's in a bit better shape as far as his health is concerned. He's also only 13 away from taking that level up, so I'm just trying to think of what he can kill to get that. It's slow to kill these spicy chickens for it, but I don't think there's any other enemies, are there?
What
He could
about
maybe
the
kill the
bots
bird
from
knight.
the King bot?
That's true. That probably would be the thing, because they give you 10 each, so you're right. That's what they would kill, the bots from the King bot. You might also upstab this Bird Knight or something. Wow, BadBrakes really having a struggle there, spending all the rest of his magic, but he knows he's about to get it back, so he's fine.
Yeah, because he only needs, 20 experience or so to get up there?
At this point, Max really should have just cast Fairy. I don't know why he bothered to cast Shield.
He wants the full magic upgrade.
He wants the full magic. He should have just waited 2 more rooms to the King bot. I don't know if he thought about that.
I mean, when you're this close, though, like, you have to make that decision very fast.
That's true. It's easy for us sitting in our ivory tower here to say he should have done this or that, but yeah, the faster thing would have been to kill one of those little things right there. Those 10 XP each. BadBrakes knows it. Oh man, do it. It takes a while. He's got it.
He's going to kill one of these on the bid.
Yeah, he's going to get a Mew. You're right.
Oh, the Mews give 10. Dang.
Oh, they give 10 here. I never knew that.
I thought they got 3.
I got those.
Oh, but that second one was
also
a pot, so if he had relied on both of those Mews, he would have got screwed there. So
wow, good thinking. Wow,
yeah,
was
nice foresight on his part.
Yep. So welcome to Thunderbird. We're going to see them cast Jump, Shield, Reflect, and then Thunder, because you need Thunder to make him vulnerable to damage. Max getting a decent Thunderbird fight.
Pretty good, yeah. BadBrakes, he's not getting the fight he needs to catch up here.
No.
It's going to come down to a really trolly Dark Link that is only shot here, really. Dark Link is kind of random, and there's not a whole lot you can do to speed things up.
That was a great key grab, though, off of Thunderbird. This is going to be close. Keep in mind, timing ends when the runners lose control of Link in the middle of the room after they fight Dark Link. So that is when time will stop. Very good Dark Link fight there from Max.
It's not what BadBrakes needs.
Nope.
Yep. Very close. Max finishing with a 121.01.
Oh, wait. I just realized the timers, they were a little off, so...
Yeah, Max finished with a 121.01, and BadBrakes finishing with a 121.13. So 12 seconds between these two players.
That was a phenomenal race.
Very close. Very close, guys.
As happy as we are about that, I don't think BadBrakes is...
Probably not. He certainly had that for much of the race. He was ahead of Scorpion Max by several rooms or more. Max basically losing time at the beginning due to an accidental death, and then BadBrakes playing just a little bit faster than him on average throughout the rest of it, and then all of it coming apart there at the end. Close to the end
there were a couple sequences where like BadBrakes would he missed the encounter skips on the way to Darunia, and Max didn't, and he would catch up, make some ground, but then just through execution, BadBrakes would make that back again. You'd pull just a little further, and so they were doing this kind of yo-yo effect in the gap between them that was largely holding steady, but it wasn't until it wasn't forgetting the key that was what cinched it, but before that
forgetting the key is what put them basically even with each other. And from there, it was just lots of small things. BB had some trouble in Palace 5. Just a few things really didn't go his way. And Palace 6 as well, a few things didn't really go his way.
Barba.
Yeah, and then the death on Barba was what really put him back.
There were some people criticizing the choice to jackhammer Barba. That strategy was kind of born out of a category where you don't have attack 8, right? So you can't really get him in one cycle with just crouch stabs and jump stabs.
Right,
so,
well, yeah, and it is still faster, but it's only by a matter of maybe 2 seconds, maybe a second and a half, but not by a lot.
I guess when it's that close, 2 seconds matters. Right?
Yep, it sure does. But then if you're that worried about, I don't know, that death, you should be concerned about a death at that point in the game when the race is that close. And maybe look to make up your 2 seconds someplace else. I don't know. It's really hard to say in retrospect what was the right thing to do, because we didn't know the outcome at the time that we would have had to make that decision.
It was certainly the BadBrakes thing to do, to go for the jackhammer.
Right. I'm glad he did go for it, because it is cool to see the jackhammer strat.
Absolutely. And for those of you in the chat asking about the next race actually is scheduled to be pretty much immediately following this one.
Yep, we're going to stay up and cover that.
Absolutely. So please sit back, relax.